So in your opinion, what is the quickest way that someone could, if they were listening to this and they thought, oh, you know what, my New Year's resolution is to learn to code. What would the first thing you say be for, to them as to, how would they start? What would you suggest?
I think the key thing for development, front end or back end, is to actually do it. You're not. You can get some information by watching videos, reading books, listening to podcasts. There's a wealth of information out there, but unless you're actually doing it, you're not going to get it. And you need to start with the fundamentals. It's definitely, like we've already said, a case of start with the languages. So you can use things like, I know as on How to Code Well, you've got a few projects that you're doing where you're taking people through from the beginning of, this is the problem we're trying to solve and this is how we're doing it, and introducing design patterns and good practices like that.
Yeah.
Those sort of things are absolutely fantastic to do, along with things like code challenges or tutorials. The key thing is try to find something that gets you to actually do it yourself and not just talks at you.
Yeah.
And give it a go. Ask people, if you know people in the industry, to critique your code. That's good to do as well. Be careful about who you ask, though. And if you ever get to a point where you're critiquing other people's code, remember that you started at some point as well. So be constructive. Not just what are you doing this, you idiot? Don't go down that route. That's not good. So that's why you have to be a little bit careful about who you ask to critique your code. Make sure it's someone who can be constructive and helpful and not just, putting you down. And remember, everybody started out. Nobody came out of the womb knowing how to code. We've all learnt and we've all got where we are through practice, making mistakes, fixing them. If everybody wrote perfect code, we wouldn't have things like Xdebug. It just doesn't happen. We wouldn't bother with unit tests. Everything would be hunky-dory.
Yeah,
That's not how things work. So get in there and actually just try it. And, if you've got a computer, then you've already got all the tools you need to be able to develop. You've got a number of IDEs you can download to use. I know people that still code in Notepad. So you don't need all of these fancy tools, although there are a lot of good tools out there to help you. I remember when I started out, YouTube wasn't a thing.
Nope.
Tutorials online weren't a thing. So it was very much just try it. And I think one of the other key things that will help is if you try and find a problem to solve, but it's something that you're interested in or you really enjoy. Now, it doesn't matter if there's already someone else has done something that solves that same problem, because there are 101 task list managers out there. There are invoicing platforms out there. There are blogs, blog platforms out there. You may have heard of something called WordPress. That's quite good for blogs. But that shouldn't stop you. Just because someone else has already done it, this shouldn't stop you trying, so that you can get an understanding of how these systems fit together. Start off small. So start off with something like maybe a simple task list. Something that you can maybe put the tasks in and possibly rearrange them on the screen. Now, if you can drag and drop your list to order it, and you've got that stored in a database somewhere, you've covered off an awful lot of functionality there. You can then sort of expand, and then maybe you can have it. I'll have it either email me a reminder or send me a push notification. There's so much you can then do to extend these things. But don't go big straight away either. Start off small. Start off with I'd love to be able to solve this problem. Let's break it down. Let's do this tiny bit first and slowly build up to it.
Well, it's remarkable how small things that they seem small on the offset are actually huge. They're actually ginormous. Because then you start, you're considering all sorts of aspects of not only the user journey, but how the data is stored, what happens when this button's pressed, and, all of this stuff.
The interactions are, validations,
exactly,
whether that then fires off another process. Whenever anybody says to me, and we still get this a lot with clients and things like that, but it's just a button.
Yeah, I bet.
Thread. And then there's quite a, depending on who I'm talking to, but there will quite often be a large list of things that have to be thought about for that button to appear there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is, and it does start to it can quite quickly unpack from a simple what seems like a simple little challenge to all of this massive stuff that you maybe just didn't think of. And then all of a sudden, as you're doing it, you think, oh no, what happens when I do that? All right, I'm going to have to look at that now. And I'm going to have to work out how this impacts this over here. Especially if you're quite tightly coupled as well, because you change something over here and then something over here is suddenly broken. You're thinking, hang on. What happened there?
Yeah. I find web development it's a very weird thing to learn, because you have to be comfortable accepting the fact that you're not ever going to learn all of it.
God, no.
But as long as you've got that curiosity, that itch that you want to scratch every time you wake up and you go, hang on a minute, this is something that is new here. This is something I'm learning here.
It's a want to improve as well.
Yeah.
So it's it's this idea that you're not just going to stick with the status quo. You want to improve things. You want to make things better. You want to take something and just give it that little extra bit of an extra bit of functionality, or a bit of polish, or just make it work in a slightly different way. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be a whole brand new thing. It can just be a small improvement, a small iterations.
That is the key. It's small iterations, increments that get that improve the project over time, like a fine wine.